Another failure. Absolutely spectacular failure, I announced to my research team, watching as our latest test subject, a Proximan warrior, lies twitching on the floor. The supposedly legendary armor stands there, pristine and unchanged, while our volunteer writhes around making noises that sound suspiciously like a malfunctioning waste disposal unit. I, Kralvax, prestigious lead researcher of the Centauri Research Institute's Ancient Artifacts Division, am about ready to throw myself out of the nearest airlock. 3 years, 8 months, 22 days, and approximately 47 minutes of my life wasted on this impossibly stubborn piece of technology. "Should we help him up?" asks my assistant, Nari Bloom, her 4 eyes blinking in perfect asynchronous rhythm, a habit she displays when she's trying not to laugh. "Let him suffer a bit longer," I reply, tapping my datapad. "The effects should wear off in about 3 minutes, based on our previous incidents." The armor, standing 9 feet tall in its inactive state, gleams under our lab lights. Found buried beneath the ice sheets of Europa, it had caused quite the stir in the scientific community. Initial scans dated it to roughly 50,000 years ago, predating every known spacefaring civilization in our records. The metal, if you could call it that, defied all known classification systems. Researchers note, I speak into my recording device. Test subject 2749, species designation, Proximan Elite Warrior, rejected by the artifact in 6.3 seconds. New record for fastest rejection. Symptoms include temporary neural disruption, mild gravitational confusion, and... I pause, watching as our volunteer starts floating toward the ceiling. Unexpected anti-gravity effects, adding anti-grav rejection to our growing list of armor defense mechanisms. Behind me, I hear several of my junior researchers failing to suppress their snickers. I don't blame them. After thousands of attempts with representatives from every known sentient species in the galaxy, the armor's rejections have become increasingly creative. Last week it turned a Valaxian ambassador temporarily plaid. The week before that, a Rogelian general started speaking in nothing but ancient Terran commercial jingles from their early information age. "Someone get the gravity nets," I sigh, watching our test subject doing slow cartwheels near the containment field ceiling. "And please, someone tell Director Zena that we need another requisition for medical supplies. At this rate, we'll run out of neural stabilizers by next week." The facility around us hums with activity. 300 researchers, technicians, and support staff, all dedicated to unlocking the secrets of this one artifact. The most advanced testing facility in the quadrant, equipped with everything from quantum analyzers to psychic resonance chambers. All of it useless against this ancient piece of stubbornly selective armor. "Sir," Nari approaches, holding up her datapad. "The latest analysis from the linguistic team came in. They think they've partially decoded another section of the armor's surface markings." "Let me guess," I reply, my peripheral tendrils curling in anticipation of more frustration. "Another variation of 'not you' in some ancient language?" "Actually, no," she says, her tone brightening. "They think it says something about chosen and earth, though they're still arguing about whether earth refers to dirt, ground, or possibly a specific location." I grab the datapad, my eyes scanning the report. 3 decades of xenoarchaeological research, and this is the first time we've seen any reference to something specific, rather than just various ways of telling us we're not worthy. "Interesting," I mutter, already formulating new testing parameters in my mind. "Schedule a meeting with the linguistics team for tomorrow. And someone please get our floating friend down from there. The anti-grav effect should be wearing off right about." A loud thud echoes through the chamber, followed by a groan. Now, as medical teams rush in to attend to our latest volunteer, I turn back to the armor. It stands there, as it always has, like some ancient judge finding us all wanting. The surface catches the light in ways that shouldn't be possible, creating patterns that seem to shift when you're not looking directly at them. "One day," I say to it, knowing full well I'm talking to an inanimate object, "one day we're going to figure out exactly what you're waiting for." The armor, as usual, says nothing, but I swear, just for a moment, the patterns on its surface shift into something that looks suspiciously like amusement. Looking back, I really should have paid more attention to that particular detail. It would have saved us a lot of time, and at least 15 cases of spontaneous species-inappropriate appendage growth. But that's getting ahead of the story. Send in the next victim, I call out, checking off another failure on my datapad. Behind the safety barriers, my team prepares for our next round of tests. We have nicknamed it Operation Throw Everything at the Wall and See What Sticks. Not very scientific, but at this point I am beyond caring about proper nomenclature. The Arcturian ambassador steps forward, all 7 feet of carefully cultivated diplomatic grace. I assure you, researcher Vax, that our species' natural affinity for ancient artifacts makes us the perfect candidates for Bzzzt. The armor doesn't even let him finish his sentence before turning him hot pink and giving him an irresistible urge to tap dance. As he shuffles away, still dancing, I make another note. Day 1247 of testing. Armor continues to display a concerning sense of humor. Next up is a Sirius Corporation representative, Terry Blue. The name is obviously fake, chosen to sound more appealing to potential investors. He straightens his expensive suit, flashing what his species considers a winning smile. Our market analysis suggests this time the armor transforms his suit into what appears to be ancient Terran leisure wear, something my database identifies as a Hawaiian shirt and cargo shorts. The effect spreads to every piece of corporate clothing within 50 feet. I watch in mild amusement as an entire section of observing executives suddenly finds themselves dressed for a beach party. Note to self, I dictate, while behind me Nari struggles to maintain her professional composure. Armor appears to have strong anti-corporate sentiment, possible connection to ancient labor movements. Follow up with Historical Research Department. The morning continues with a parade of increasingly desperate attempts. A Betelgeusian monk tries meditation. The armor responds by playing what sounds like ancient Terran elevator music at high volume. A vegan mystic attempts a spiritual connection. She ends up speaking in mathematical equations for 3 hours. A Centaurian quantum physicist hypothesizes that pure logic might be the key. The armor turns him into a living probability cloud for 5 minutes, during which he simultaneously exists in every embarrassing situation possible. You know, Nari comments during our lunch break, watching as the cleanup crew deals with the aftermath of a particularly spectacular failure involving a Danebian shapeshifter who now can't stop shifting between various forms of extinct Terran furniture. I'm starting to think the armor is enjoying this. I grunt in agreement, reviewing the morning's data. The rejection methods are getting more elaborate, more purposeful, like it's trying to tell us something through increasingly ridiculous object lessons. The afternoon brings a delegation from the Galactic Science Council. They set up elaborate equipment, confident that their combined centuries of experience will crack the code. 6 hours later, we're still trying to figure out how the armor managed to turn their quantum harmonizer into a device that only plays ancient Terran cat videos. Interesting, notes Council member Zax, whiskers twitching as she watches herself fail for the 12th time. The armor's response patterns suggest not just rejection, but correction, as if it's trying to teach us something about ourselves. Yes, I replied dryly, watching as another council member runs around the lab, making involuntary bird noises. The lesson appears to be that we're all idiots. By evening, the test chamber looks like a cross between a modern art installation and a practical joke gone wrong. The floor is covered in Technicolor footprints that rearrange themselves when no one's looking. The walls occasionally giggle. 3 different species have developed temporary psychic links with their childhood pets, and one unfortunate intern is stuck speaking entirely in rhyming couplets. The scientific community's response to our daily reports has evolved from professional interest to barely concealed mockery. This morning's headline in the Galactic Journal of Xenoarchaeology read, "Prestigious research team continues to be outsmarted by inanimate object. Film at 11. Tomorrow, I announced to my team as we wrap up another bizarre day, we're going to try something different. No more volunteers from the scientific community. No more politicians or corporate representatives. We're going to test regular people, starting with our own facility staff." "How is that different from what we've been doing?" asks one of my junior researchers, currently floating upside down due to a testing incident he swears wasn't his fault. "Because," I explain, watching as the armor's surface ripples in what I'm now convinced is amusement. We've been trying to impress it. Tomorrow, we're going to ignore it completely. Maybe if we stop taking ourselves so seriously. I trail off as the armor's surface briefly displays what appears to be a thumbs-up emoji before returning to its usual enigmatic patterns. Did anyone else see that? I ask. The research team collectively decides that it's been a long day, and perhaps we should all go home and pretend that didn't happen. As I pack up my notes, I could swear I hear something that sounds suspiciously like laughter coming from the test chamber. Note to self, I mutter into my recorder. Either the armor is developing a personality, or I'm finally losing my mind. Both options are equally disturbing. Who approved a maintenance check during active testing hours? I demand, watching a figure in gray coveralls casually stroll into our highly secure, extremely classified research facility. Nari frantically checks her schedules. No one, sir, but the environmental systems on level 3 have been acting up, and maintenance said they'd send someone to. Hey there, just need to check the atmospheric regulators. Won't take a minute. The maintenance worker waves cheerfully, completely ignoring the security barriers, warning signs, and what I'm fairly certain is the most advanced piece of ancient technology ever discovered. I start toward the testing chamber. Security, we need to... That's when it happens. The armor, our stubbornly inactive artifact that has spent the last 3 years humiliating the galaxy's finest minds, begins to hum. The sound reminds me of ancient Terran music, something my database identifies as a surprised whistle. The maintenance worker, now directly in front of the armor, looks up from their diagnostic tool. Oh wow, neat statue. Looks like something out of those old Earth video games my grandma used to play. Don't move, I shout, but it's too late. The armor's surface erupts in a cascade of lights, patterns flowing like liquid starlight. The human, because that's what our unexpected visitor must be, just stands there with an expression of mild interest, as if watching a moderately entertaining holovid. That's pretty cool, they say, reaching out to touch the armor before anyone can stop them. The light show must be using a lot of power, though. Might want to check your grid calibration. Every scientist in the room holds their breath. We've seen 3 years of increasingly creative rejections. Whatever the armor does to this unsuspecting human will probably be spectacular. Instead, the armor purrs. Sir? Nari's voice quavers. Are you seeing this? The armor is reshaping itself, parts shifting and flowing like liquid metal, adjusting its proportions. Within seconds, it has reconfigured to perfectly match the human's dimensions. Huh, says the maintenance worker, apparently unimpressed by what my instruments tell me is a complete violation of several fundamental laws of physics. Neat trick, but seriously, your power consumption readings are way off. Want me to take a look? I clear my throat, trying to remember proper first contact protocols. May I ask your name? Oh, right, Alex Chen, Environmental Systems Specialist, Level 3 certification. They extend a hand, another Terran custom I vaguely recall. Though my friends call me Ace, because of the armor chooses this moment to split open like a blossoming flower, revealing an interior that looks suspiciously inviting. Now that, Alex says, that's not regulation safety equipment. My entire research team watches in stunned silence as this human, this random maintenance worker who wandered into my lab concerned about power readings, casually examines the most significant archaeological find of the century as if it's a faulty air conditioner. Excuse me, I managed to say, but do you realize what this is? Some kind of advanced exosuit? Alex shrugs. The design's nice, but you really should have it properly certified if you're running tests. Health and safety would have a fit. The armor's surface ripples with what I swear is laughter. This, I explain, trying to maintain my professional composure, is an artifact predating all known civilizations. We have spent 3 years trying to activate it. The greatest minds in the galaxy have failed to... Oh, Alex brightens. Is that why there's a quantum probability field leaking into the ventilation system? That explains the power readings. Want me to suit up and help you check? Before I can form a response, Alex steps forward and the armor welcomes them. There's no other word for it. It flows around them like an embrace, settling into place with a series of satisfied clicks. Hey, this is pretty comfortable. Alex's voice comes from within the armor, now a perfect fusion of ancient technology and modern maintenance worker. Though you might want to adjust the environmental controls, it's running a bit hot. I look at my datapad, now exploding with readings we've spent 3 years trying to achieve. Then at my research team, all standing with mouths agape. Finally at Nari, who appears to be trying very hard not to laugh. Well, I say to no one in particular, I suppose this explains all the Terran references in the rejection protocols. Sorry, what? Alex asks, already moving with perfect coordination in the armor that has literally driven other beings insane. Did you say something about protocols? Because I should mention your safety protocols are definitely not up to code. Here, let me show you. And that's how the most significant breakthrough in xenoarchaeology happened, because someone came to fix the air conditioning. Greetings, descendants of Project Garden. This unit is pleased to announce successful genetic compatibility confirmation. The voice booming through our lab sounds cheerful, professional, and completely at odds with the fact that it's coming from a 50,000-year-old piece of technology currently wrapped around our maintenance worker. Thanks, Alex responds brightly, as if chatting with ancient AIs is a normal part of their day. But could you maybe adjust your volume? The acoustics in here are pretty intense. Oh, my sincerest apologies. The armor's voice drops to a more reasonable level. It has been approximately 49,876 years since my last activation. Sound calibration may require some adjustment. I step forward, my scientific curiosity overriding my shock. Excuse me, but did you say Project Garden? Indeed. The armor's surface ripples with patterns that somehow manage to convey enthusiasm. Project Garden was our most ambitious undertaking, the seeding of potential across 1,000 worlds waiting for the right conditions to bloom. And look how well you've grown. I have no idea what's happening, Alex comments. But these readings are fascinating. Your power core is somehow generating negative entropy. That's definitely not up to current safety standards. The armor lets out what can only be described as a fond chuckle. Ah yes, the engineering instinct remains strong in your lineage. Tell me, do you still feel compelled to take apart machinery to, as your ancestors put it, see what makes it tick? Only when it's broken, Alex replies. Speaking of which, your joint servos could use some calibration. Mind if I... Before anyone can stop them, Alex has somehow accessed the armor's internal systems. Holographic displays spring to life around the lab, filling the air with streams of data that make my best researchers gasp. Fascinating, the AI exclaims. You've maintained the core traits we selected for, problem-solving, adaptability, and that wonderful tendency to treat advanced technology as a puzzle to be solved rather than a mystery to be feared. Selected for, I managed to ask, frantically taking notes. Are you saying humans are our greatest success? The AI interrupts proudly. You should have seen the early prototypes. Far too rigid in their thinking, no creativity at all. But then someone suggested combining curiosity with just a touch of reckless disregard for proper procedures. And voila, the perfect species to carry forward our legacy. Alex, still tinkering with the armor's systems, pauses. Wait, are you saying humans were genetically engineered by ancient aliens? Not engineered, cultivated. Like a particularly promising garden variety that just needed the right conditions to thrive. Though I must say you've exceeded all projected parameters. Installing atmospheric regulators in a classified research facility. Brilliant. The perfect blend of technical skill and complete disregard for arbitrary security protocols? I watch as my team scrambles to record everything, their expressions ranging from awe to disbelief to barely suppressed laughter. Nari has given up all pretense of professionalism and is openly giggling. This explains so much, the AI continues. The armor's rejection protocols were specifically designed to wait for a human. All those silly reactions were just to keep us entertained while we waited. Though I must say, turning that serious executive's suit into beachwear was one of my better moments. About those protocols, I interject, trying to maintain some semblance of scientific inquiry. Why the focus on Earth references? Pattern recognition. We needed someone who would understand the humor. You wouldn't believe how many species took everything literally. Remember the Arcturian ambassador? Still tap dancing, by the way. But humans, they get it. They see a mysterious piece of ancient technology, and their first instinct is to check its power efficiency. Perfect. Alex, who has somehow managed to optimize the armor's power systems while this conversation has been going on, nods. Speaking of efficiency, your quantum field harmonics were way off. Should be running much smoother now. See? The AI sounds delighted. This is exactly what we were hoping for. No fear, no reverence, just practical problem solving with a dash of casual competence. The holographic displays shift, showing what appears to be the history of human development, annotated with notes from our ancient observers. Each major technological breakthrough is marked with what looks suspiciously like proud parent comments. Look at them figuring out fire. First tools ahead of schedule. Ooh, they're starting to build things. The structural engineering instinct is strong in this batch. Your species, the AI explains to Alex, was specifically designed to inherit our technology. The others. It pauses diplomatically. Well, let's just say their response patterns were suboptimal. You mean they treated you like a holy relic instead of a really cool piece of tech that needed maintenance? Alex asks, still adjusting something in the armor's systems. Exactly. Do you know how frustrating it is to be treated like a mysterious artifact when your servos clearly need calibration? But you just walked in and immediately noticed our power inefficiency. I could cry with joy if I had tear ducts. I look at my years of careful research, now essentially reduced to a footnote in what appears to be a 50,000-year-old plan to find someone who would treat ancient technology like a malfunctioning air conditioner. So, I say carefully, all our careful scientific protocols? We're highly entertaining, the AI assures me. We particularly enjoyed the quantum harmonizer incident. Though I do apologize for the cat videos, that might have been a bit much. Not at all, Nari chimes in. Those were actually quite popular in the break room. The armor's surface displays what can only be described as a smug expression. Of course they were. We based them on actual Earth cats. Speaking of which, how are they doing? Still ruling your households while pretending to be pets? Some things never change, Alex laughs, finally stepping back from their modifications. There, that should do it. Power efficiency up by 300%, all systems properly calibrated, and I even managed to fix that weird rattle in the left shoulder joint. Perfect, the AI exclaims. Now, shall we discuss your inheritance? There's quite a lot of technology waiting to be reclaimed, and frankly, we're tired of watching other species fail to notice basic maintenance issues. The facility's alert system chooses this exact moment to start blaring, because of course it does. Why would the universe waste a perfectly good dramatic revelation by not immediately following it up with a crisis? Multiple unauthorized vessels approaching, announces the security system. Hull breach detected on levels 2, 4, and 7. Warning, armed intruders detected. Oh, come on, I groan. Now, really? Neat, Alex says, somehow sounding even more cheerful. We can test out the armor's combat systems. Hey, ancient AI buddy, got any weapons in this thing? Please, the AI replies, sounding mildly offended. This is a Mark 7 custodian battle armor. The real question is, which weapons would you prefer? We have everything from particle beams to… Something non-lethal, Alex interrupts. Don't want to damage the facility's infrastructure. Those environmental systems are tricky enough to maintain as it is. I watch in amazement as our maintenance worker, still wearing a 50,000-year-old superweapon, starts pulling up the facility's schematics and marking potential tactical positions, all while discussing proper safety protocols for combat situations. You'll want to avoid the plasma conduits on level 4, Alex tells the security team, who seem unsure whether to be grateful for the advice or confused about taking orders from someone in ancient armor. And watch the pressure seals near the emergency exits. They've been a bit finicky lately. The first wave of intruders burst through the lab doors, weapons raised. They're Proximan mercenaries, probably hired by someone hoping to steal our discovery. Their leader steps forward, pointing some ridiculously oversized energy weapon at us. Nobody move, we're here for the armor. Surrender now and… Hang on, Alex interrupts, raising one armored hand. Are you guys seriously using Mark III plasma rifles? Those things are crazy inefficient. The power cells leak like crazy. Here, let me show you. Before anyone can react, Alex moves. The armor flows like liquid lightning, crossing the space between them and the mercenaries in what my instruments tell me is technically faster than possible. With casual ease, they pluck the weapon from the leader's hands and start taking it apart. See this? Alex points to something in the disassembled rifle while the mercenaries stand there, apparently too confused to react. The power coupling is completely worn out. You're losing at least 40% efficiency, not to mention the safety risks. Who's been maintaining these? The mercenary leader opens and closes his mouth several times before managing to speak. We're here to steal the armor? Yeah, in a minute, Alex waves dismissively. But seriously, these weapons are a disaster waiting to happen. The AI and I could probably whip up something much better using the ancient tech. Wanna see? What? The armor's surface ripples with amusement as Alex continues their impromptu weapon maintenance lecture. The mercenaries look at each other, clearly unsure how to handle a target who seems more concerned about their equipment maintenance than their hostile intentions. Observation, the AI announces cheerfully. Current human response patterns exactly match historical data. Tendency to prioritize technical inefficiency over immediate danger. 100% consistent with baseline behaviors. More mercenaries arrive, only to find their supposed victim enthusiastically explaining proper weapon maintenance procedures to their thoroughly confused colleagues. Some of them are actually taking notes. And if you adjust the containment field like this, Alex demonstrates, somehow having acquired tools from somewhere within the armor, you'll get much better energy efficiency, plus it won't explode if you look at it wrong. We do not need our weapons serviced, the mercenary leader finally shouts, apparently finding his voice. We are here to... He doesn't finish because Alex, still chatting about proper maintenance schedules, casually activates what the AI helpfully informs me is a targeted gravity manipulation field. The entire mercenary force suddenly finds themselves floating gently toward the ceiling. Anyway, as I was saying about the power couplings, Alex continues, apparently considering the floating mercenaries a minor distraction at best. The real problem is the lack of regular maintenance. When was the last time you guys had these calibrated? The armor's combat capabilities are severely underutilized in this scenario, the AI notes, sounding amused. But the human's approach is oddly effective. I watch as our maintenance worker systematically disarms and lectures an entire mercenary force about proper equipment care, occasionally using the armor's supposedly devastating weapon systems as impromptu demonstration tools. The invaders look increasingly unsure whether they're in a combat situation or a particularly aggressive safety inspection. And another thing, Alex says, now surrounded by floating mercenaries and disassembled weapons. Your tactical approach was all wrong. Coming through the main doors? Really? The ventilation system has much better access points, though I'd appreciate it if you didn't use them. I just got them properly balanced last week. Is this, one of the floating mercenaries asks another, is this how getting defeated is supposed to feel? I don't know, his colleague replies, watching Alex reassemble their weapons with various improvements. But I think we might be failing our safety inspection. The facility's security forces finally arrive, only to find the situation well in hand, if somewhat unconventional. The mercenaries are still floating near the ceiling. Their weapons have all been thoroughly serviced and safety locked, and Alex is now explaining proper maintenance documentation procedures to anyone who will listen. And remember, they call out as the security teams lead the thoroughly demoralized invaders away. Regular calibration checks. They're important. Fascinating, the AI comments to me. In all our simulations, we never quite predicted this particular approach to combat situations. The technical lecture as a combat technique? I ask. No. The technical lecture as the combat technique. Psychological warfare through aggressive equipment maintenance advice. Brilliant. We clearly made the right choice with this species. I look at my research team, still trying to process what they've just witnessed. Then at Nari, who appears to be adding weapons maintenance to our facility's safety inspection checklist. Finally at Alex, happily running diagnostics on the armor systems, as if the last 20 minutes were just a minor interruption to their regular maintenance schedule. I believe, I say to no one in particular, that our research parameters may need some adjustment.
Oh, definitely, Alex agrees, not looking up from their diagnostic tool. Your whole security system needs recalibration. The response times are way off, and don't even get me started on the emergency protocols. Want me to take a look at those next?
The armor's surface ripples with what I'm now certain is laughter, and I find myself wondering if perhaps the universe has a sense of humor after all. 3 days after what is now being called the maintenance incident, I find myself composing my final report on the armor project. The Galactic Science Council is still trying to process the fact that their most significant archaeological discovery was essentially waiting for someone to fix its power systems. The headlines are pretty entertaining, Nari says, scrolling through her datapad. My favorite is, Ancient Superweapon Defeated by Safety Regulations. Though maintenance worker saves Galaxy through aggressive equipment. Inspection is a close second. The lab has changed considerably since the attack. Alex, still cheerfully bonded with the armor, has somehow convinced our entire security team to attend regular maintenance workshops. The mercenaries, now released but thoroughly reformed, have enrolled in technical certification courses. Your weapons maintenance was shamefully inadequate, I hear the AI lecturing a group of security officers. But Alex assures me there's hope for you yet. Now who can tell me the proper calibration sequence for a quantum containment field? I turn back to my report, trying to summarize the events in a way that won't get me laughed out of the scientific community. Again. To the Galactic Science Council and associated research bodies. After extensive testing and recent unprecedented developments, I can now confirm that the artifact discovered on Europa was indeed waiting for a specific type of operator. However, our initial assumptions about the selection criteria were, to put it mildly, completely backward. The armor, now confirmed to be a Mark VII custodian battle armor created by the precursor civilization we're now calling the Gardeners, was not searching for the most advanced, dignified, or ceremonially pure candidate. It was waiting for someone who would treat it like a malfunctioning piece of equipment that needed fixing. In retrospect, the signs were obvious. Every rejection protocol was essentially a cosmic-scale practical joke designed to identify species too serious or reverent to appreciate the humor. The armor wasn't testing for worthiness, it was testing for what the AI calls practical irreverence. Humanity, it turns out, was specifically cultivated by the Gardeners to inherit their technology. Not because of any mystical connection or superior intelligence, but because they're the only species in known space whose first instinct upon finding advanced alien technology is to check its power efficiency ratings. Current status update. The armor has been fully activated and bonded with Alex Chen, who has somehow managed to improve its systems beyond their original specifications. Our facility's safety protocols have been completely overhauled, mostly because Alex wouldn't stop pointing out violations. The AI has begun sharing technical knowledge, but only after each system passes what it calls a proper maintenance inspection. Several other pieces of Gardner technology have been discovered, all apparently waiting for someone to notice they needed calibration. Additional observations. The mercenaries who attacked our facility have formally apologized, not for the attack, but for the poor state of their equipment maintenance. Our security team's efficiency has improved by 300%, though they now spend an alarming amount of time discussing proper tool organization. The Galactic Standards Committee is considering adding technical maintenance competency as a first contact protocol. Several major corporations have attempted to recruit Alex, only to end up attending impromptu lectures on their facility's safety violations. Perhaps most significantly, we've had to revise our entire understanding of the precursor civilization. The Gardeners weren't the mystical, all-powerful beings we imagined. They were essentially a species of incredibly advanced engineers who decided the galaxy needed more people who would actually read the manual. Humans, it seems, were their answer, a species with just the right combination of technical curiosity, practical problem-solving skills, and complete disregard for the difference between priceless artifacts and broken machinery that needs fixing. As I conclude this report, Alex and the AI are currently redesigning our entire research facility's infrastructure. Their main complaint is that nothing is properly labeled according to galactic safety standards. Standards, which I feel compelled to note, they are also rewriting. Looking back, I suspect the armor's surface patterns weren't displaying amusement at our failures. They were probably trying to point out our facility's numerous code violations. Personal addendum. After 3 years of careful scientific study, thousands of failed tests, and one accidental success, I find myself forced to admit an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the most significant scientific breakthrough isn't understanding the profound mysteries of the universe. Sometimes it's just making sure all the equipment is properly maintained. Final note. Alex has informed me that this report violates several newly implemented documentation standards. I'm submitting it anyway, if only to maintain some small shred of my professional dignity. Respectfully submitted, Kralvax, Lead Researcher, Ancient Artifacts Division, currently being lectured about proper report formatting. As I finish the report, I hear Alex's voice from the testing chamber, still encased in the ancient armor that now looks suspiciously well polished. Hey, Kral, you might want to come see this. We found some interesting stuff in the armor's maintenance logs. Also, your quantum stabilizers are way overdue for their annual inspection. I sigh, save the report, and head toward the chamber. Behind me, I hear Nari trying not to laugh as she adds yet another item to our ever-growing maintenance checklist. The AI's voice echoes through the facility, sounding entirely too pleased with itself. You know, we considered many possible traits when designing humanity's ancestors. Intelligence, strength, adaptability. But do you know what finally convinced us? Our problem-solving skills, I suggest. Close. It was when one of your early ancestors looked at a piece of highly advanced alien monitoring equipment and said, "Have you tried turning it off and on again?" And somehow that explains everything.